I moved into a new house recently, and I want to tell you something embarrassing about what happened the first time I stood in one of the empty rooms. I started planning what to do with it. Before I had felt the light, before I had heard what the quiet sounded like in there, before I'd even set anything down, I was already building a version of the room that didn't exist yet, already making it into something else. I don't think that's a home renovation problem. I think that's just how most of us move through our lives. We walk into something new and we immediately start managing it, improving it, turning it into a project, a relationship, a job, a creative practice, a season of grief. We show up, and before we've even caught our breath, we're asking, okay, what do I do with this? Someone told me once that I should try meditation, that it would help. I said I didn't have time. And then, when I did try, I laid there thinking about my to-do list and told myself that counted. It didn't count. Not because I was doing it wrong, technically, but because I turned it into another thing to manage, another room to renovate before I'd ever lived in it. That's what I want to talk about today. Not productivity, not systems, not a better morning routine. I want to talk about what it means to actually inhabit your life. I think most of us are living inside a factory and we don't know it. Not because someone forced us in, but because the factory is so well designed that it feels like home. It has a rhythm, it has metrics. It tells you at the end of every day whether you were good enough, based on what you produced, what you finished, what you shipped out the door. And the factory is not cruel exactly. It just doesn't have rooms. It has a floor, one big open floor where everything happens at once. Where you're a parent and a professional and a creative and a friend and a person who should probably be exercising more, all at the same time, all in the same fluorescent light, all competing for the same shrinking supply of you. And you get tired. Not lazy tired, not I need a vacation tired. The specific kind of tired that comes from never being fully anywhere. You're with your kids, but you're thinking about the thing you didn't finish. You're working, but you're guilty about the kids. You're trying to rest, but you're auditing the rest. Is this the right kind of rest? Am I doing this efficiently? Should I be journaling right now? The factory doesn't clock out. It just follows you home. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The opposite of the factory isn't leisure. It isn't a spa day or a digital detox or a better work-life balance spreadsheet. The opposite of the factory is a house, a real one, with separate rooms, with doors that close, with a kitchen that smells like something and a porch where you can just sit without producing anything, without it meaning anything beyond the fact that you're there and the light is nice and that's enough. I didn't used to believe that that was enough. I'm still learning to believe it. So let's walk through the house, not as a blueprint, not as a system to implement, just as a walk. The way you'd show someone around a place you're still getting to know yourself. The kitchen. The kitchen is where you stay human. It's the daily work, the ordinary, unglamorous, necessary work of keeping a life running. The lunch is packed and the bills paid and the hard conversation you've been putting off. the apology, the appointment you scheduled 6 months ago and almost canceled. Nobody performs in the kitchen, or at least you're not supposed to. The kitchen asks one thing of you: show up. Do the thing in front of you, not the thing from yesterday or the thing you're worried about tomorrow. Just this. The dish in the sink. The child asking a question you don't have a good answer to yet. The kitchen is where presence is the most unglamorous and the most necessary, all at the same time. The living room. The living room is where you listen. Not to respond, not to fix, not to already be formulating your answer while someone is still in the middle of their sentence. Just listen, be with, witness. This is harder than it sounds, especially if you've spent years in the factory where every conversation is a transaction, where listening is just the pause between your talking, where being present with someone else's story feels like time you're not spending on yours. The living room asks you to put that down for a while. It's where your relationships actually live, not the grand gestures, in the ordinary sitting together, in the unhurried hour that didn't need to be anything more than what it was. The study is slow, deliberately, stubbornly slow. It's where the raw materials of your life, your experiences, your questions, your half-formed ideas gets to sit and breathe until it becomes something. Not on a deadline, not optimized for output, just turned over, examined, left alone, returned to. Most people don't have a study anymore. Not because they lack the physical space, but because they've lost the interior one. Because the moment a thought starts to form, they've already reached for their phone, already checked to see if something more urgent has arrived. The study requires you to be bored for long enough that something interesting can surface. That's not a bug. That's the whole point. The porch. The porch is where you meet the world without performing for it. It's your open door. The part of you that's visible and available without being manufactured. You're not marketing yourself on the porch. You're not building your brand or optimizing your presence. You're just out there with the light on, and people can see it. There's a difference between a porch and a stage. A stage has lights pointed at you. A porch has light coming from inside the house. One is constructed. One is just what's true about you, visible from the street. The best version of anything you make, anything you share, anything you say out loud, it comes from the porch, not performed, just lit from within. The garden. This one matters most, and I almost didn't include it because it's the hardest one to protect. The garden is private. It's the part of your life that is not for anyone else, not for content, not for growth, not for output or improvement or becoming a better version of yourself that you can report back on. The garden is where you play, where you make something terrible that you've never shown anyone, where you pray or grieve or laugh at something that wouldn't make sense out of context, where you are, for a few minutes or a few hours, completely and entirely off the record. And here's what I've learned about gardens. The moment you put a camera in one, it stops being a garden. It becomes a stage. And stages are fine. Stages have their place. but they cannot replace the garden, because the garden is where you remember who you are when no one is watching. And if you've forgotten that, if it's been a long time since you've been somewhere that was just yours, that's where to start. Not with a new system, not with a better routine, with a door that closes and something on the other side of it that belongs only to you. I want to be honest with you about something. I wrote all of that: the kitchen, the living room, the study, the porch, the garden. And I want you to know that I am not standing in all of those rooms comfortably. I am not a man who has figured out the architecture of his own life and is now generously passing along the blueprints. I am someone who walked into a new house recently and immediately started planning what to do with it before he'd even felt the light. That's still me, most days. The factory doesn't disappear just because you've named it. The habit of managing your life instead of living it doesn't dissolve because you've identified the pattern. Knowing the name of every room and house is not the same thing as knowing how to be still inside one. But here's what I've noticed. There are small moments, and I mean genuinely small, almost embarrassingly small, where I catch myself actually in the room I'm in. Not planning the next one, not renovating this one in my head, just here, in this specific light, with this specific person, or this specific silence, or the specific ache. And those moments don't feel like achievement. They don't feel like I've finally cracked the code on presence. They feel like relief. Like I put something heavy down that I'd been carrying so long I forgot it had weight. And I think that's what we're actually after. Not the optimized life, not the perfectly balanced house with every room in order. Just occasional relief. The brief, ordinary miracle of being somewhere without immediately needing it to be somewhere else. That's available to you right now. Not after the next transition. Not when things settle down. Not when you've built the right system or found the right rhythm. Right now, in whatever room you're actually standing in. Even if it doesn't feel like enough yet. Even if you're already mentally renovating it. You're allowed to put the hammer down. I don't have a system for you. I don't have 5 steps or framework or worksheet you can download. I just have this: a house with some rooms in it and the slow, ongoing work of learning to actually live there. And the honest invitation at the end of all this is not to build something new. It's just to stop for a second, right now, wherever you are, whatever room you're physically sitting in as you listen to this. Feel the weight of the chair, the temperature of the air, whether the light in the room is soft or harsh, or somewhere in between. You're already somewhere. You're already in a room. The only question is whether you're willing to be there. Not to manage it, not to improve it, not to turn it into something more productive or meaningful or worthy of the time you're spending in it. Just be there. That's the whole practice. That's the whole invitation. It doesn't get more complicated than that, and it doesn't get easier either. But it's available right now, in the ordinary, unremarkable, completely sufficient moment you're already standing in. I'm JD. Thanks for walking through the house with me.